Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Beach United Church. We're grateful for your presence here, for those of you who are following along at home and for those of you who are joining us in person. Happy Thanksgiving. This is a day of celebration, a day of reflection, and we're going to engage that. My name is Reverend Greg Daly. I'll be leading you in worship. Stephen Webb will be leading us with music, and our choir will be carrying us along as we engage some familiar music and some new stuff too. So, as we continue into worship, you can follow along, for those of you at home, with bulletins you've received and others with the bolded portions on the screens. Make a joyful noise, all the earth. Worship God with gladness. Come into God's presence with singing. We are here to worship with joy. Know that God is eternal. It is God that has made us, and we belong to God. We are God's people, like sheep tended in a pasture. We are here to worship with thanksgiving. Let us give thanks here together. This morning, as I light the Christ candle, it is a day we often come together with friends, family, chosen friends, chosen family, to share bounty. And that bounty can be expressed in so many different ways. There's abundance of ideas, there's abundance of food, there's abundance of time together, there's abundance of stories and reflection. So today, wherever you are, whoever you're with, think of this candle coming together as a community. We gather around it, we gather in community, and community offers us all of those pieces that I spoke of earlier, and I offer gratitude for them and for today. May you too find ways to be grateful and to give thanks. As we prepare for worship, we also take time to acknowledge this sacred land. It has been a home of human activity for thousands of years, the home of the Huron-Wendat and the Petun First Nations, the Seneca and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And today, the meeting place around Toronto remains home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. They have cared for this land for centuries. I invite you to investigate where you live to understand how your lands where you live has been cared for. Part of the work of reconciliation, as settlers, we turn to the guidance and leadership of Indigenous partners to carry us on a path seeking to be mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations. We're going to sing again from more voices. Every day is a day of thanksgiving. And as you're comfortable or able, feel free to stand and join us. Thanksgiving. everyone. I was so busy singing, I didn't advance it in time for you. As we enter into worship, we come together for a time of prayer, and we can share this prayer together from our screen. Great Spirit, we're grateful for rich blessings, for the abundance of creation, the potential for goodness in all of us, and the grace offered to all. Open our spirits to wisdom, our hearts to love, and our lives to service, modeling kindness, gratitude, and thanksgiving, today and always. Amen. Well, for something completely different today, and I see that, my friends are all off doing other things, but I have a story that I want to share with folks today. I'm very grateful for the Toronto Public Library today. Great books. I put this book on hold. I went to the library. They couldn't find it. And the librarian went, "Oh yeah, I put that on display just yesterday." So we were thinking alike. This book is called Apple Cake, and we'll get back to that in a second. Thank you, hedge, and thank you, tree. Thank you, flower, thank you, bee. Thank you, rain, and thank you, sun. Thank you, farmers, everyone. Thank you, cows. Thank you, hens. Thank you, family. Thank you, friends. I like the look of this particular person eating the apple, very wide-eyed. Thank you, earth, beneath our feet. Thank you for the food we eat. Hedge and tree, flower and bee, cows and hens, family, friends. Earth and water, fire and air, thank you for the gifts we share. Thank you for the food we make. Thank you all for apple cake. And I have some apples here today, and I'm very grateful that I live very close to a market where I can get apples from farmers, and not just any apples. Anyone who's a pie maker will know there's different kinds of apples that do different kinds of things, and you can't always get lots of different kinds of apples anymore. These are Cortlands, and Cortlands, think like a Macintosh. They're really beautiful, sweet, tart apple, and they're a soft apple, but if you've ever tried to make an apple pie with a Macintosh apple, it's just mushy. Cortlands, no. Cortlands make great apple pies, and in the back of my apple cake book, I have a recipe for apple cake. So I will ask any one of you folks, if you want to give your parents something to do for maybe not today. Today might be a bit too crazy, but maybe this week, giving thanks for apple cake. The whole recipe's here. It's a super simple recipe because it follows all the animals and plants and people that she's met in the book. And I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to ask for something completely different today. Just some popcorn words, things you're grateful for today. And just shout them out.
Books. Family. Friends.
Lots of great things. Family and friends and books. All kinds of things. What did you say, Cole? Oh, I didn't hear you. Pancakes. Absolutely. Well, you can take an apple home and make apple pancakes too. So I invite you to grab an apple, and that is something completely different for today. We're going to sing again, another traditional hymn for the beauty of the earth. And as you're comfortable or able, feel free to join us in stand. So as we come together in a time of conversation, let's start with a word of prayer. Join with us, living God, as we meet around your word and reflect upon it. Encourage us, inspire us. Amen. I thought this week that I would start a new segment to our services. This is called the Happiness Box. My friend Nanette gave it to me when I was ordained, and inside this box are sayings. And each week, today I'll give you the demonstration, but in weeks to come, the Happiness Box is going to be at the back. And every time you come in for a service, feel free to take something from the Happiness Box. And if it's something that resonates with you, I'm going to ask you to share it during the service when we get to the Happiness Box time. So let's hope I pick something that I can talk about today. This is from Maya Angelou. You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody. Great words for anyone today. You alone are enough. Just as you are, just as you're created, you're good enough. You've got nothing to prove. So Maya comes out of the Happiness Box. We've got 364 more to go through. There we go. I could have said, and that's something completely different too, but we're going to try a few different ways for us to engage creating meaning together, and hopefully the Happiness Box, for those of you coming next week, it will be at the back for you. We also have a reading today from the book of Luke. We've been following along with Luke, and this is Jesus still making his way towards Jerusalem. And as he crossed over the border between Samaria and Galilee, he entered a village. And 10 people, all of them lepers, met him. They kept their distance, but raised their voices so he could hear them, calling out, "Jesus, have mercy on us." And taking a good look at them, he said, "Go, show yourselves to the priests." And they went. And while they were still on their way to do that, they became clean. And one of them, when they realized that they were healed, turned around and came back, shouting their gratitude, offering gratitude. And they kneeled at Jesus' feet, so grateful they couldn't thank him enough. And this person was a Samaritan. And Jesus said, "Were not 10 healed? Where are the other 9? Can none be found to come back and give thanks except this outsider?" And then he said to the person who had returned, "Get up, on your way. Your faith has healed and saved you." Stephen's going to play for us. Thanks, Stephen. Let's pray together. God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts cause us to be stirred by your Spirit to make space and place for gratitude in our lives. Amen. I imagine that most of us have had that childhood experience where every request that we made was interrupted by a parent chiming in with the question, "And what do you say?" And then once having received whatever the answer or whatever it was, there'd be a follow-up question, "And now what do you say?" Of course, our parents were training us to say please and thank you. And there's parents in the room going, "Yes, we try. If our parents were as successful as they probably wanted to be, the end result is that we now include please and thank you at all appropriate times without even thinking about it. Yet the problem with that as a rote practice is that the word can lose its meaning if there isn't any real thought behind it. It's almost as problematic as if you didn't even say thank you at all. Now, last week we talked about the importance of growing things in our community. We had baptisms, we talked about seeds and growing seeds. Well, this week I'm hoping we can engage in another sort of communal practice, offering gratitude for each other and for this place. And to frame our consideration of Thanksgiving and gratitude as integral to our way of life, we have this healing story of 10 lepers. And I think this is one of the best stories that I've read about understanding the importance of gratitude. 10 lepers were healed of their skin disease, but only one, who happened to be a Samaritan, an outcast in that particular society, returned to give thanks. And when they did, something more happened. Actually, a deeper healing took place. Because remember Jesus' words, "Get up on your way, your faith has healed you." So the thank you was important, but there was a deeper engagement taking place, a more intense exchange that comes with the intentional act of returning, of recognizing the action and the gratitude offered that went back as a result. And so here's something I think the story invites us to consider today. How might our thank yous be different if our lives literally depended on what someone else did for us? And in one respect, it's easy for us to throw out thank yous here and there as we go about our daily lives, but by the same token, it's also easy for us to forget to say thank you from time to time when people extend gestures, nice gestures to us. But I think that changes when our very lives hang in the balance and our well-being is in someone else's hands. Or at least I'm inviting you to consider whether it would be an interesting idea to look at it this way. Because what we see in our reading this morning is that gratitude is a central aspect of living authentically, with meaning, and with intention. And that really is the aspects of what we would traditionally consider faith to be. And Luke's recounting the story of the lepers who were healed by Jesus, but the thing is, I don't think the story is really about healing. It's more of a sidebar. I think the learning comes from the one person who came back to say thank you. And even as we consider the gratitude that was expressed by this person, what Jesus wants us to walk away from in this story is a lesson of faith-filled commitments. The story falls in the midst of a whole series of stories about discipleship. There's ones before and ones after that delve into the discussions. And the bigger picture is that these stories offer a suggestion that to have faith is to live faith. And to live it is to give thanks. It is living a life of gratitude that constitutes living a life of faith. And that is what made this person who came back actually truly well. Jesus wants us to see that faith and gratitude are really two words for the same thing. That practicing gratitude is practicing faith. It's not something we have, but it's something we do. It's something that we live. So, in living it, we express our trust in the divine, we express our thanks, and that can be gratitude offered back at this time of year to the divine, to the giver of all things. And that can be difficult for us because not everything in our lives is good. So doubt can creep into the equation, and we begin to wonder how we can have faith in this good and generous divine giver when things are going badly. Maybe that's why the other 9 folks didn't bother to come back. Perhaps they were doubting having been allowed to be ill in the first place, or having been cast out by society, because we've all been there too, haven't we? It happens when a family member dies suddenly or tragically, or we lose our job, or we have a friend who's diagnosed with cancer, and suddenly it feels as if the foundations are getting ripped out from underneath us. Can we still offer gratitude in those circumstances? Well, that's one way to engage this story. And of course, when we consider the healing in this story, and we think, of course, they were grateful, they were healed, their life got better. And that makes it easy to give thanks. But the thing is, the story is still asking us to go a little deeper. That one person wasn't truly healed until they returned to give thanks. It's only then that Jesus says, "It's your faith that made you well." And that's the potential learning for us. Faith, living into our faith, living in gratitude, can make us well too, even in times where we're experiencing pain or loss. And indeed, our faith can falter during those times. And so Jesus says, in essence, lean in to the gratitude. It's not a magic bullet. It's not a straight line journey. But it is an opportunity for us to find places and ways to live with gratitude. And that offers us a starting point for the healing that we're being invited to. I'm going to read a little extract from a book by Oliver Sacks. Some of you may know Oliver Sacks, a well-known British neurologist who spent much time with people at end of life, was a doctor himself. This book was written 3 years before Oliver died, and you'll learn how old he is when I read you this little extract. Last night I dreamed about Mercury, huge shining globules of quicksilver rising and falling. Mercury is element number 80, and my dream is a reminder that on Tuesday I'll be 80 myself. Elements and birthdays have been intertwined for me since boyhood when I learned about atomic numbers. At 11, I could say, I'm sodium, element 11. And now at 79, I'm gold, few years ago, when I gave a friend a bottle of Mercury for his 80th birthday, a special bottle that could neither leak nor break, he gave me a peculiar look, but later sent me a charming letter in which he joked, "I take a little every morning for my health." 80. I can hardly believe it. I often feel that life is about to begin, only to realize it's almost over. I've experienced many things, some wonderful, some horrible, and I've been able to write a dozen books, to receive innumerable letters from friends, colleagues, and readers, and to enjoy what Nathaniel Hawthorne called an intercourse with the world. I'm sorry I have wasted, and still waste, so much time. I'm sorry to be as agonizingly shy at 80 as I was at 20. I'm sorry that I speak no languages but my mother tongue, and that I have not traveled or experienced other cultures as wisely as I should have done. My father, who lived to be 94, often said that the 80s had been the most enjoyable decades of his life. He felt, as I begin to feel, not a shrinking, but an enlargement of mental health and perspective. One has had a long experience of life, not only one's own life, but others too. One has seen triumphs and tragedies, booms and busts, revolutions and wars, great achievements and deep ambiguities. One has seen grand theories rise only to be toppled by stubborn facts. One is more conscious of transience and perhaps of beauty. At 80, one can take a long view and have a vivid, lived sense of history not possible at an earlier age. I can imagine, feel in my bones, what a century is like, which I could not do when I was 40 or 60. I do not think of old age as an ever grimmer time that one must somehow endure and make the best of, but as a time of leisure and freedom, freed from the factitious urgencies of earlier days, free to explore whatever I wish, and to bind the thoughts and feelings of a lifetime together. I'm looking forward to being 80. Oliver Sacks knew how to offer gratitude. Thanksgiving is a moment for us to pause and to ponder gratitude in the place where we're at. Sometimes that's an easy journey, sometimes more challenging, but I invite you to look for spaces and places of gratitude today. Even in loss, we can be thankful for those that still surround us, for those who cared for loved ones, who gave their all to help us through our own journeys of pain or healing after accidents or surgery or disease. We can all be thankful for this place, for all who are part of it, the people who support us in the midst of our challenges. And even when it's difficult to muster that sort of thankfulness, you can be thankful for the coworker that brought your lunch last week, or the person that offered you the place in line in grocery when you had 2 items and they had 300. We can be thankful for roofs over our head and clothes on our back, for food on our tables. Sometimes things may be so hopeless that we even have to look in the most insignificant place to find something to be thankful for. But what Jesus wants us to know is that if we can do that, we will find something for which to be grateful. If we can express gratitude even in the smallest ways, we will find ourselves on a road to healing. And isn't that what spiritual journey is all about? Seeking meaning, seeking understanding, seeking connection in all things, at all times, in all places. The demands of that kind of a journey are great. And sometimes, perhaps oftentimes, we don't think that we're well enough equipped. But this story reminds us that in living out our faith, in living our gratitude, giving thanks in all things, we are given all that we require. So the lesson here for all of us, the healed, the sick, the grounded, the unsettled, if a posture of thanks and gratitude grounds us, then our circumstances become less challenging to the grounding of our well-being. If we practice gratitude with intention, I guarantee you it will change your life. It will open us all to living more fully and more gracefully. So I ask you to ponder that today. Please and thank you. We're going to sing. And as you're comfortable, feel free to stand and join us. There are many ways for us to offer gratitude. The gifts of our hands, our time, our talent, our volunteerism, our treasures, those riches that we gain from our work. We can spread them around in lots of different ways, and one of the ways you can do that is to support the work of this place. There is a basket at the back, and there's many ways for you to donate online. We are beginning back into our weekly community lunches, our interfaith group that will be starting this week after Thanksgiving. So through the winter months, we provide food for the community, and our little food pantry could always use a few more donations as well, and there are folks that are caring for that. And Stephen, do you want to just say a quick word about the organ recital this coming Saturday?
Gonna speak. I think it's because we're both on that channel. Yes, the organ concerts, we're having one coming up this Saturday. We're having a wonderful new performer, Rashawn Allwood. We got him right at the beginning of COVID, and then obviously that happened, and he had to just send in the recording from his home church. But now he's here performing for us. He's a composer as well as an organist, so he's going to be playing old favorites as well as some of his own compositions. So that starts at 4:30. It'd be wonderful if you could come come out and support that series and hear that beautiful instrument being played. So again, 4:30 this Saturday, and it's free at all of our concerts. See you out there. Thank you.
We're going to sing our thanks. You can stay seated for this. We're going to come together in a time of prayer, offering gratitude, and there'll be a moment for you to offer up words again, either silently or aloud. Let's pray together. Eternal mystery, there are days we do not feel grateful, when we're anxious or angry, when we feel alone, when we see and know injustice, when we do not understand what's happening in the world or with our neighbors, we struggle to feel grateful. But this Thanksgiving, we choose gratitude. We choose to accept life as a gift from you, from the unfolding work of all creation. We choose to be grateful for the earth from which our food comes, for the water that sustains us, and for the air we breathe. We choose to see our ancestors, those who came before us, and their stories as a continuing gift of wisdom for us today. We choose to see our families and friends with new eyes, appreciating them for who they are, thankful for our homes, whether they be humble or grand. We will be grateful for our neighbors and strive to love them as ourselves. We will choose to see the whole planet as a shared commons, the stage for the future of humanity and creation. Divine Creator, this Thanksgiving we do not give thanks, we choose it. And so now we name, aloud or in silence, our thanks and our gratitude today. We will make thanks with courageous hearts. When we see your sacred generosity, we become aware that we live in an infinite circle of gratitude. We are guests at a hospitable table around which gifts are passed and received. We will not let anything opposed to love take over this table. We choose to open our eyes, to see grace and the gifts of life everywhere. And in this choosing, we share our gratitude in the world. Thus, with you, Creator, and with all those gathered here, we pledge to make thanks. We ask you to strengthen us in this resolve here and now and in the future. Around this table, around the table of our nation, around the table of the earth. Amen. Now we can sing our gratitude. for more voices. And as you're comfortable, feel free to stand and join as we sing together. As we go from this place, may the God of grace, the Redeemer of ideas, and the Sustainer of hope be with you as you find places and spaces of gratitude this day and every day of your life.